Today, for the first time ever, Go Goblin Channel received an email request for sharing one of its listeners' paranormal experience through email. The listener does not want us to reveal his name, only his story. So we are sharing his experience exactly as he described. Without wasting time, let's go to his story. Hi Go Goblin, if you read this on your channel, please do not say my name, and please do not say my city. I am writing this because I have never told the whole truth to anyone, and lately it feels like whatever followed me is done hiding. If something happens to me, at least this story will exist somewhere outside my head. This happened almost 12 years ago when I lived in California near Sacramento. Not the postcard California. Mine was cracked sidewalks, loud freeways, and apartment blocks where you could hear neighbors through the wall. Back then I was broke, working odd jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, and always trying to stay ahead of bills that never slowed down. One evening, I was walking home from a corner store as the sun was going down and the streetlights were starting to glow. That in-between time made the neighborhood look normal but feel slightly wrong. That is when I saw them. 3 kids were playing in the street. They looked innocent in a way that made me feel guilty for even thinking about ignoring them. They were not running or screaming like typical kids. They were playing quietly, almost politely, like they were copying what children are supposed to do. One rolled something shiny across the asphalt. Another clapped slowly. The third just watched me without blinking. I do not know why, but I felt pulled toward them. I said something casual and stepped closer, still holding my grocery bag in front of me, like it could prove I meant no harm. The moment I got close enough, my brain finally processed what my eyes were seeing. They were not normal kids. They were small in a way that did not fit. They were childlike, but no taller than my waist, and their proportions felt off in a way I cannot explain without sounding cruel. Their faces were smooth and young, but their eyes did not match. Their eyes looked old, patient, and almost amused, like they had seen adults make the same mistakes again and again. The one who seemed like the leader looked at me and smiled, but he did not show any teeth. He asked one simple word: dinner. He said it like it was already agreed. I should have walked away. I should have run. But I told myself they were hungry and alone, and that I was not a monster. So I offered them food, and they accepted. And after dinner, they followed me home like they already knew the way. I did not call the police. I did not tell anyone. I did not even question why 3 tiny strangers were outside at dusk, barefoot and calm. I just let them follow me in a quiet line. In my kitchen, I made what I could: boxed mac and cheese, hot dogs, a little fruit. They ate slowly, like they were tasting memory more than food. They did not talk much, but they watched everything, especially my hands, my keys, where I kept things, how I moved through my own home. When I asked where their parents were, the smallest one tilted his head and said, "Down." That answer made my stomach sink, but I ignored it. After dinner, they did not ask to leave. They just stood there, waiting. I did not want them wandering around my apartment, and I did not want them sitting in my living room, so I did the dumbest thing possible. I kept them in my basement for the night. To be clear, my basement was a half-underground storage room with a door that stuck and a smell like wet concrete. I had old boxes down there, a broken treadmill, and a folding chair. I laid down blankets and gave them water and told myself I would figure out what to do in the morning. They went down without complaint. Before I closed the door, the leader looked at me and said they would pay. I forced a laugh because I thought it was a weird joke. He did not laugh back. That night, I barely slept. Every creak sounded like it came from below my floor. At one point, I thought I heard soft tapping, like fingernails on wood. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed of coins rolling across my kitchen tile, chasing each other in circles. In the morning, I went down to check on them. They were playing again, but not with toys. They were playing with my stuff, my keys, a screwdriver, and even a light bulb. They had unscrewed and were passing back and forth carefully. When they noticed me, they stopped immediately. The leader stepped forward and placed something in my palm. 3 gold coins. They were heavy and warm, like they had been sitting in sunlight. Each coin had a symbol I did not recognize, like a twisted crown above a wave. The edges were ridged unevenly, almost like teeth marks. I just stared, not knowing what to say. The smallest one said it was for dinner. It was strange, unreal, and if I am honest, the first thing I felt was not fear. It was money. I told myself the coins were fake. I told myself it was a prank. But later that day, I took 1 coin to a pawn shop, pretending I found it in an old box. The guy tested it and stared at me like I was lying. He told me it was real gold. I walked out with the coin still in my pocket, my heart pounding. That night I fed them again, and I kept them 1 more day. The next morning, 3 more coins. By the 3rd day, I stopped pretending it was about kindness. I brought them food like a delivery, and I went downstairs like it was a job. Put in dinner, receive gold. It felt simple, like I found a secret shortcut in life. I started selling the coins carefully, not all at once. Different shops, different weeks. I paid off debts. I paid my rent early. I bought myself breathing room, then comfort, then things I did not need just because I could. Every morning they gave me coins. Every night they asked for something. At first it was normal things, milk but only unopened, salt but not from a shaker, bread but not sliced, meat but unseasoned. They always wanted it clean. I told myself I was lucky. I told myself I was smart for not asking questions. I did not realize I was being trained. One night the leader said blood. He said it casually, like he was asking for ketchup. I laughed and said no. All 3 of them looked at me at the same time, not angry but disappointed. The smallest one stood up and pressed his palm against the basement door, like he was listening through it. Then he said they would leave. The fear that hit me was not about them. It was about losing what they were giving me. I heard myself say, wait, before I even knew I meant it. I asked what kind of blood, animal, anything. The leader shook his head and said human. I did not hurt anyone directly, but I found a way to get it without a weapon. I used lies and excuses and money and distance. I told myself it was not hurting anyone because I did not see anyone bleed. I told myself it was a system and there was plenty. That is what I said to my own conscience so I could keep going. I brought them a sealed bag from a blood bank. They did not act feral. They opened it like it was a fine drink. They poured a little into 3 cups and drank slowly, eyes half closed, like it was something sacred. The next morning, they gave me far more than 3 coins. They gave me a heavy clinking pile. Along with it, they gave me a gold ring engraved with the twisted crown and wave symbol. I put it on without thinking. After that, the requests escalated. Blood became occasional, then regular. Then they started asking for things they called the sweet part, the part that remembers. I did not understand what that meant, but I could feel my life sliding into a place where I was no longer living like a normal person. I was listening to the world like a thief and watching people like inventory. Then one night, the leader said flesh. I froze and told him I was done. He looked past me toward the stairs, toward the life I had built on top of that basement, and said that I eat and they eat, and it is the same. I want to be careful here. I do not want to describe anything in a way that turns into instructions. I will only say this. I crossed lines I never thought I would cross, because I convinced myself the victims were already gone. I told myself it was victimless because it was quiet and hidden. That was a lie people tell themselves when they are trying to stay comfortable. The next morning there were no coins. There was a velvet pouch. Inside were heavier coins that looked older, and under them was a slip of paper like a receipt. I could not read the writing, but I understood the meaning. Debt. That was when it stopped feeling like payment and started feeling like ownership. The ring on my finger began to feel tight, like it was shrinking. Some mornings, the skin under it looked bruised even though it did not hurt. And sometimes I heard tiny footsteps upstairs, even though I locked them below. Then one night the smallest one said, "Baby." He did not say it like a general thing. He said it like he had already picked one. The leader added one word, "alive." No. That was the only word I could say. It came out sharp and final. All three stared at me. The smallest one tilted his head and said they would leave. This time I did not beg. I told them to go. That night I locked the basement door and stayed awake with every light on. I sat there until sunrise, staring at shadows like they were waiting for permission to move. When morning came, I went down. They were gone. No broken window, no damaged lock, no mess. The blankets were folded neatly like a hotel bed. For a moment I felt relief so strong I almost cried. Then I realized the ring was gone too. The skin on my finger looked clean like I never wore it. I ran upstairs and checked everywhere I kept the coins. My safe was empty. My hidden cash was gone. The envelope behind my fridge was gone. My accounts started dropping in ways that made no sense. Payments reversed. Deals fell apart. A car I had bought was suddenly not mine. It was like the money was being erased from reality, not stolen. I thought I was being robbed by humans, so I changed locks and called banks and filed reports. None of it mattered. My wealth vanished one piece at a time, like a slow leak I could not find. Then, one morning, I opened my safe and found a single coin I did not recognize sitting dead center like a joke. On the back of it, scratched into the metal like someone used a nail, were two words, "Not yours." That is when I understood the truth. They had never paid me. They had loaned me a life, and the interest came due. After that, it stopped being about money. People around me started acting strange. Friends ghosted me. Co-workers avoided me. Neighbors looked at me like they recognized me from somewhere they did not want to remember. And I started seeing the three of them again. Not clearly like before, but in reflections, in dark screens in the corner of my eye. Sometimes I heard the smallest one whisper debt at night, like the word itself was a chain. I moved. I left that area. I thought distance would fix it. It did not, because I finally realized something that still makes my chest feel tight. They were never trapped in my basement. I was trapped in the deal I made when I said wait. A few months later, I lost everything. The money, the job, the apartment. It collapsed fast, like it had been held together by invisible hands, and those hands got bored. And then on the night I hit rock bottom, I found something warm and heavy in my pocket. 3 gold coins. I had not seen them in months. I had not touched them. I had not earned them. They were just there, like a reset button. I stood under a streetlight staring at my palm, and I understood exactly what it meant. An offer, a reminder, a threat. I walked until my legs hurt and ended up outside a church, not because I'm religious, but because it felt like the only place they might not follow. I sat on the steps until sunrise. When the sun came up, I opened my hand. The coins were gone. In their place was a small scrap of paper folded neatly. On it, in plain English, were the words, "We will ask again. So that is why I am emailing you. Not for attention, not for fame. I do not want anyone to hunt them down. I do not want anyone to bargain. I want someone to hear it and understand what I did not. They do not pay you with gold. They pay you with permission. And once you give it, they will keep asking for more until the only thing left to offer is someone else. If you ever hear 3 quiet knocks when you are alone, do not answer. Not even once. A listener who wishes he stayed broke